guys, Rachele here with Amethyst Ascension. If you are new here, welcome. And if you are joining me again, thank you so much for joining me again. So, today what we are doing is a hashtag called Witchy Wisdoms Wednesdays. And today we are focusing, this is the third week in April, and we are focusing this week on the Fae. So it's also hashtag the Fae. I will be putting all of the information down below. This is a collaboration with 3 other channels. Those are Pagan Pathways, AstariaSen, and Earth Spiderweaver. That is Jessica, Summer, and Jasmine. So what I wanted to do was start showing a little bit of the things that really pull me, okay? And so I really want to be talking about, in this one, the Fae, but my beliefs on the Fae. And so I found a couple of different articles that I thought were perfect, but and I will be putting links to both of those articles down below. But I just want to get started. Hopefully this isn't going to be too long. So what you're looking at on the screen is Danu. And Danu was believed to be the mother of the Tuatha De Danann, or Thuade Dunan, if I'm pronouncing it properly, which translated into Tribe of Danu. Scholars are agreed, and I'm reading from this particular article that I found that was just wonderful. So, scholars are agreed that Danu was the name of their goddess, most probably Anu, A-N-U, or Anan. However, that is unproven, and I believe could equally have referred to their leader or king, or even the place from which they originated. So I wanted to do a side note just on that itself. The Tuatha De Danann were also believed, well, you know what, I don't want to go off the script. So the side note was that the god Anu is also known as the first known god. It is the Sumerian god also, whose parents were Anshar and Kishar. And I find that to be curious because an insider that I have been following for several years by the name of Corey Good, who was on Cosmic Disclosure on the Gaia channel, and also has a channel on YouTube called the Blue Sphere Alliance. He states that he had been contacted by an inner earth society called the Anshar, which I find really funny that the parents of Anu, also another name for, they believe, Danu, who you're looking at the goddess in front of you, right? One of the parents was Anshar. So he came in contact with this earth society, inner earth society called the Anshar, and actually even visited their home in the inner earth. They were advanced beyond our abilities. They lived longer. They were tall with pale features and long blonde to white hair. The main contactee he had was called Kari, who gave him a tour of their home within the earth. And there's a lot more to that, but that's just too much for this video. But another side note to that, the children of Anu, another name believed for Danu, were Enlil and Enki, the brothers from ancient Sumeria, also known as a race of gods known as the Anunnaki, that were said to come from Nibiru, which is also known as the planet X. So they were a race of godlike people that were gifted with supernatural powers. And this, I'm talking about the Tuatha De Danann, okay, who invaded and ruled Ireland over 4,000 years ago. According to an ancient document known as the Annals of the Four Masters, which was compiled by Franciscan monks between 1632 and 1636 from earlier text. The Danann ruled from 1897 BC until 1700 BC, which is a short period indeed in which to have accumulated such fame. They were said to have originated from 4 mythical northern cities, which was Murias, Gorias, Phalias, and Phineas, possibly located in Lapland, which is in Norway. The Book of Invasions, which is Labor, Gabala, Aren, compiled in 1150, claims in a poem that they came to Ireland riding in flying ships, surrounded by dark clouds. Now, just another side note again, the Anunnaki, as I said, were considered gods and or aliens that came from the planet Nibiru. Okay, this is ancient Sumerian, which is the oldest known language and civilization that we have on record. So, flying ships surrounded by dark clouds. They landed on Sliva or Lorraine, the Iron Mountain in Colitrim. If I am pronouncing these or, just hatching these up, I am sorry. But it is what it is. So this is where they brought a darkness over the sun lasting 3 days, is what it says. There is a lovely line which illustrates perfectly the bewilderment felt towards these conquerors. The truth is not known beneath the sky of stars, whether they were of heaven or earth. A later version of the story relegates that the flying ships were merely sailing ships. The dark clouds became towering columns of smoke as the ships were set alight, a warning to observers that the Danann were here to stay. Clearly, the monks recorded this story. Recorded the story. They were trying to make sense of something which was pretty much well out of their comfort zone. And so we have our first dilemma, which is this: which story to believe? Did they arrive from the skies or from across the sea? But I find it very, very interesting about the Danu and Anu. Anu being Sumerian, Sumerians being Anunnaki, and Lil Enki, which there will be some further stuff down the road. So, what did the Danann look like, according to this article? They certainly looked very different to the small, dark native peoples of Ireland at the time. The Danann were generally described as tall with red or blonde hair, blue or green eyes, and pale skin. Take note what Corey Good said about the inner earth civilization, the Anshar, and about what they looked like, okay? Interestingly, archaeology has unearthed evidence all around the world of small colonies of red-haired people from the same time period as the Tuatha De Danann arrival in Ireland. Excavations in the Xinjiang province of China have revealed mummies of red and blonde-haired people living around 4,000 years ago. The extremely well-preserved Egyptian mummy of nobleman Yoya, circa 1400 BC, shows that he had blonde hair and Nordic features, as did his wife, Thaya. She was also Tutankhamun's great-grandmother. So then we go on to another part of this article that talks about the first Bionic man. So it says, in order to win supremacy over Ireland, the Danann fought against the existing ruling tribe, the Firbolg, in the first Battle of Moytura. During this encounter, the Danann High King Nuada Argethlum, pronounced Nutha Orgethlum, lost his arm. He survived but lost his position, as the king could not be seen as anything less than whole if he was to bring his people continued success. In an intriguing turn of events, the physician replaced the lost limb with a fully functional arm of silver. Later, that physician's son, also a physician, caused skin and flesh to grow over the metal arm. Thus, whole again, the kingship was restored to Nuada following the ousting of his replacement, the tyrant Bress. So here we have another case of strange, advanced, dare we say, alien technology. Could this be the first ever prosthesis? A robotic arm built over 4,000 years ago? So there's also other things that were associated with the Danann, which were 4 treasures of Arien. The Danann brought several special equipment with them, 4 magical talismans of great power. And these were the Sword of Light, also known in Irish as Cleof Shulish. It was said to have been made in a northern city in Findius, and it says it here, but I cannot pronounce it, and brought to Ireland by Nuada. And that no one ever escaped from it once it was drawn against them. It is also described as a glowing white torch. Guys, what does that make you think of? It says the similarities to the imagery of a lightsaber are quite striking. Could the sword have been some kind of futuristic laser weaponry? So another item, treasure, or weapon that was used was Lug's spear, also known as the finest and famous yew of the wood, said to have been made by Ezra's in the northern city of Gorias. Lug used it to kill his Fomorian grandfather, the giant King Baelor, at the Second Battle of Moytura, although some version of the story claimed that he used a sling. It has been suggested that Lug's spear, the spear Cramal, which blinded Cormac Mac Art, rendering him unfit, not whole, for rule, and the Luin Kelcher are one and the same weapon, although there is no concrete evidence to back this up. The Luin Kelcher is a fascinating legend. It was a long, fiery lance from which sparks as big as eggs flew. When the spear heat takes hold of it, in order to prevent the flames of the tip from consuming the shaft and the warrior holding it, the spear head was dipped into a cauldron of mysterious sorcerous liquid. In the destruction of Dadurga's hostel, a saga of the Ulster cycle of mythology, the Luin Kelcher is claimed to have been discovered at the Battle of Moytura, the same battle where Lug killed Baelor. This spear could well be Lug's, and seems to possess many of the qualities of the Sword of Light. Then we have the Dagda's Cauldron, also known as the Cauldron of Plenty, pronounced Kiran Onsik. It was made by Semias of the northern city of Murias. Not much is known about this vessel, although it was thought to have had the power to bring the dead back to life, and that none would go from it unsatisfied. Dr. Ulf Erlingsson has suggested that the giant stone basin found in the eastern passage of the central mound at Knowth, part of the New Grange complex, could be the Dagda's Cauldron, and that the concentric circular design depicted on it could be the map of Atlantis, as described by Plato. How could the Danann have come by this knowledge? Then we have the Liafial, also known as the Stone of Destiny, and the Coronation Stone. It was made by Morfessa of Phalius and brought into Ireland by the Danann, where they duly placed it at the hill of Tara in Comeath. Legend has it that its cry confirmed the coronation of the rightful High King of Ireland, and that its roar could be heard throughout the land. It was broken in half sometime later by Cuchulainn when it failed to proclaim him or his protege. One half was carried away to Scotland, where it eventually ended up in the throne of the British monarchy, although there is a whisper that the true stone was hidden, possibly beneath the River Tay, and remains there to this day. A stone with a voice sounds fanciful to be true, but perhaps it was misunderstood. Perhaps the stone was no more than a stage upon which the new king stood, his voice amplified by some sort of early, or dare we say, alien technology or microphone. So then we get to another part that says immortality and the other world. More famously known as Tir na Nog, or the land of the ever young, this was thought of as the original home of the Danann. It could be reached through water by traveling west over the sea or passing through the gateways of the She Mounds. In these places, the veil between the worlds was considered very thin and therefore more easily traversable. Perhaps the most interesting aspect of the magical realm is not the eternal youth, beauty, joy, and plenty that it represents, but the passage of time that is attributed to it. In Tir na Nog, time seems to stand still, while in the mortal world it passes in the blink of an eye. The story of Oisin, Fionn Mac Cumhall's son, and his other world lover, Niam, illustrates this perfectly. After only 3 blissful years in the magical realm, Oisin returns home to find 300 years have passed. When he falls from his horse and his feet touch Ireland's soil, age catches up with him and he dies an old man. So a side note here is Enki and Enlil have also, who we talked about earlier, which was Una's offspring, right? Who were also the Anunnaki, known as the Anunnaki gods of ancient Sumeria. Enki and Enlil have been associated with, the Bible and Yahweh and the serpent in the Garden of Eden story in the book of Genesis in the Bible. Also in the book of Enoch, man used to live to be 1,000 years old, and then afterwards they lived to be much closer to 100 years old. This idea of infinite paradise, where no one grows old and time has no meaning, has parallels with space travel, alternate dimensions, and even the mundane, such as advancements in healthcare and medicine. Were the Danann immortal? Not in the absolute sense of living forever. They could be killed in battle or by sickness, although compared with the natives at that time, they were clearly long-lived. Even modern man would seem ageless and long-lived in comparison with our early ancestors. So the Danann, we go on into the story of the Danann and the She. The Danann were defeated in 2 battles by the Milesians, whom historians and scholars alike agree were probably the first Gauls in Ireland. Not only were the Danann defeated by military might, but by cunning too. It was agreed that the new invaders and the Danann would each rule half of Ireland, and so it was the emergence of the Milesians, or Milesians, chose that half of Ireland which lay above ground, leaving the Danann to retreat below, so inner earth, right? They were led away to their new domain via the She Mounds by Manannan, god of the sea, who then shielded them from mortal eyes by raising an enchantment mist known as the Fae Fiada, pronounced Fioa, or cloak of concealment. As time passed, they became known as the She, Ireland's fairy folk. So gods are aliens. To one who observes without understanding, even an airplane flying through the sky carrying people in its belly to far distance, unimaginable lands seem like powerful magic. So does flicking a light switch, a television screen, or a mobile phone. That the plane becomes a ship, transported on dark clouds. A television screen becomes a vision. The phone, a stone, which speaks, perhaps an oracle giving advice direct from the gods. Those who manipulate such magic must surely be gods themselves. They look like gods, with their height, their red gold hair and sky blue eyes. They wield fiery, powerful weapons. They appear to be ageless and immortal, and they are wise, beautiful, and fearsome. The non-magic can be explained, though not proven, as technology misunderstood by the local population. Whether it is man-made or alien-made is debatable. It is certainly possible that these were migrating people from advanced civilizations in our world, perhaps displaced by the Great Flood, searching out new homes, bringing with them what remained of their knowledge and technology. I also believe that we are not alone in this great cosmos, and that visits from other worlds and dimensions cannot be ruled out, or perhaps it was magic after all, a force which, having no comprehension of, we seek to deny. Experts, being of scientific and analytic mind, will insist the lack of physical evidence proves the Tuatha De Danann never existed. The fact so many stories about them remain, however, is evidence to me that they did. The aura of mystique that surrounds these elusive people is for me the greatest part of their allure. I have been getting, now this is me. That was the end of the article. There were other parts in that were my own words, but I just want to say that I had been getting a really strong pull to Danu, who is the statue that you see here in front of you, for a couple of years now, which is why I have the statue that I got. And I didn't even put it together until I got the Tarot of the She and started reading Emily Carding's book on the Tarot of the She, and then started doing research beyond that. So, that was something that I really, really wanted to, it was very much a revelation for me, and I wanted to, really express the connections and how it seems like all of those connections, because I've been interested in the Anunnaki for like ever, and ancient civilizations and uncovering hidden information, right? I had never been really drawn to the fairy, what you think of like little fairies, and I've never been attracted to that. That never resonated with me until I got the Tarot of the She, and they were depicted differently. And then that connection from Danu into the fairies really came to play for me. So, as I said before, I hope that you guys have found this entertaining, and do some research yourself if that is what you choose to do. But I will be putting both articles down below, links to them, but I'm also going to be putting it on, sharing it on Facebook as well as the article about the Anunnaki gods. I do hope that you do some searching of your own. There is so much out there to explore, and I hope you have enjoyed this. I will also be putting a link down below to each of the other people. Jessica from Pagan Pathways, Summer from AstariaSen, and Jasmine from Earth Spiderweaver. And I am sending you love and light. Thank you so much.